So Natasha Denona has come out with a new palette called the Roxa palette, and I'm trying to be a little bit more selective with my purchases recently, but when I saw this, I had to grab it. When she comes out with a colourful palette, it has to be mine. So first of all, the packaging I absolutely love. I know it's not going to be to everybody's taste, but I love the little indentations in this and the fact that it sort of goes from purpley to blue, and it's just cute. I like it. I like that vibe. It does get a little bit fingerprinty, but what can you do? And looking at the packaging and the box that it comes in, you'd think it's just going to be a monochromatic purple palette. And kind of when you glance at it at first, you think it is going to be, but then when you look a little bit closer, I mean, there's cool tone purples, warm tone purples. It's a little bit pinky leaning. The shimmers in here are a little bit pinky. We have sort of an icy pinky shade, another pink shimmer here. We have a zebra-y shade. I love it when there's a shade like, I'm a sucker for a shade that's like that in the pan. So this palette does retail for £65. She is a bit more of a bougie price tag, and it says, introducing the new Roxa eyeshadow palette, Natasha's first purple 15 shade constellation featuring the most vibrant, bold, rich violet and fuchsia hues. And I've just got a pop-up. It says a new luxurious, never before seen standard with her new silky matte formula debuted in this palette. I wasn't aware of that till I just read that on her website just now, so that is exciting. I don't think there's any cream to powder formulas in this, which Natasha Denona is known for in her palettes, which is interesting. And it does say that this one is limited edition, so if you are interested, I'd pick it up sooner rather than later. Limited edition, how long? How long is that? How long is a piece of string? And if you do want to pick up this palette, I do have a code that will save you some pennies on her website, and it is affiliated. So if you do use that code, thank you so much for supporting my channel. And without further ado, let's get into the close-ups and swatches. Now, I absolutely love purple eyeshadow, but like I say, this isn't as purple as you would think looking at it. Like, these are leaning a little bit more pinky and warm toned. I prefer the cooler toned purples and like the lilac-y hues, like that is nice. I do like the fact we do have a bit of depth in here. It's going to be interesting to see what these are like on the eye, and we do have quite a few shimmers in this. I'm very tempted to use this one. Very tempted. I don't know, I think I might stick to more the cooler tones, but I mean, it could go any which way. And I am going to prime with my Natasha Denona eyeshadow base, just because this is actually my favourite eyeshadow base to use. I just feel like it works with all the different formulas in my collection, and it's exactly what I like for priming. I'm excited to try the new matte formula. I did like her matte formula from before, so it's interesting that she switched it up and now we have this silky matte formula. I think right away the shade that's calling to me first is this purple here, so I think I'm just going to pop that in the outer corner and we'll go from there. Okay, not a lot of kickback in the pan, and it's picked up a lot on the brush. And start packing that pigmented. Interesting, yeah. I feel like her previous formula did have a lot more kick up in the pan, and so far this shade definitely doesn't. I don't actually know quite how far I want to be taking this shade out, to be honest, so I should probably stop here. I'm not the type of person that has a plan. Then I think the next shade I want to go in with is Velour, which is this one down here. But so far, this new matte formula, again, not that much kick up in the pan. It's pigmented. It's going on nicely. Could this be better than her previous matte formula? Just tickling on the edges of this, and straight away I'm noticing that I actually thought this was going to look a lot more cool toned on the eye, I thought it was going to be... Does that look the same as what's in the pan? Because to me, it looks a little bit warmer, but that could be the base I've used or just the undertone in my skin. But yeah, I was hoping for a little bit more cool tone than that. But blending on the edges, seamless. It's pigmented. So far, so good. Then I want to take... This is a strange shade. I've only just noticed this. Like, what is this shade? It's like a bit of a stone. But actually, it's quite purple. Huh. I was going to go for this one, which is Sweet Pea. But actually, that is not going to take it in the direction I want. I think I want this one. I'm glad I swatched that. It's called Phoebe. And I am going to be popping that on the inner corner because I do like a nice matte inner corner, especially a nice light one. Huh. It's not as vibrant as I was hoping for my inner corner, but I mean, it's not the most vibrant of shades, but I think it works. I do feel like that velour shade is definitely different on the eye than what it is in the pan, and I can't work out if it's my undertone or whether it's a shade issue or what, but that's kind of the placement that I'm thinking. So I think what I'm going to do is just add a little bit more, blend it out a little bit further, make it a little more dramatic and smoky before we go in with the shimmers. I think the best way to describe this matte formula is that the mattes feel a little bit thinner. Does that make sense? Like, they're pigmented, they're working, but the actual formula just feels thinner. That's the only word that I can think to describe it. Okay, this is how we're looking, and we have a lot of shimmer options, and as you're seeing this part of the video, I haven't swatched the palette yet. So we do have Brink, which is a very, very pink, oh, that's pretty, a pink shade. We've got Concord, which is definitely more purple. We could have that just toward the outer corner leading into that deeper purple. We have Stargirl, which is like a white icy shade that goes to a pink. There is Dixie, which is, oh, a bit pinky and a bit blue. In the pan, it looks like a very nice pastel pink, but when you pick it up, it's a lot icier blue white. Then we have Flutter, which is like a nice light pink. And then we have Regal. I'm running out of fingers. Okay. And then Bolt, which was the zebra shade. I quite like that one. But is that just going to transform into a full-on silver when it's blended? Very possibly. For me personally in this palette, I would have liked to have seen a really, really light pastel lilac shimmer. But that's just my personal preference. I think I'm going to take Bolt, which is the zebra shade. That didn't go on like I was expecting it to. It's not as vibrant and it's not as foily and creamy. Maybe that one would benefit from a brush. Even my refer brush just doesn't want to pick it up. So yeah, I'm not sure I'm a fan of the formula of this one. Like it's not the easiest to apply. Like, it looks beautiful on the lid. Let me spray my brush. Let's see, that's a little bit better. But yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be that consistency, which was a little bit more difficult to pick up. But yeah, I'm struggling with this shade. Let's try with the finger again. Like, it's beautiful on the lid, don't get me wrong. It looks stunning. It's got beautiful reflex in it, but it just isn't my favourite to work with in terms of picking it up and applying it, which is a little bit of a shame. Let me just add a little bit more of that matte back in. Then I think I'm going to go with the Concord shade, just to merge that shimmer into the outer corner matte purple. Oh, this one doesn't want to pick up either. Okay, I picked up what I can and sprayed it. Yeah, a similar issue with that shade. But again, when it's on, it's beautiful. Shall we go for Stargirl for the inner corner or Dixie? I think I'm going to go for Stargirl. And we're going to spray this too. And just have that leading into the other shimmers. Like, I have much cheaper palettes that the shimmers perform a lot better in and a lot easier to pick up. Now, I've only tried the 3, but I'd say that zebra shade was really, really difficult to try and get on my finger, then on the lid, and even pick up on a brush. Like, it did work, but it's just not as foily and emollient as I thought it was going to be. Okay, I'm gonna fandangle this and then we shall be back with the finished look. So guys, I think it turned out really, really nicely. I think the look is really pretty. The types of purples, the way that it blends, this sort of deeper smoky outer corner. It's really, really nice. In terms of the actual palette and using it, like obviously this is a first impressions. I haven't used every shade. I haven't even swatched the full palette as you're seeing this part. So there's a lot more I need to learn about the palette, a lot more shades that I need to use, but from the shades that I did use, I will say it was very difficult to pick up some of the shimmers, whether that be on my finger or on a brush, which I'm not used to. I've got a lot of great formulas in my collection that are easy to pick up and apply. Considering how expensive this palette is, I would have liked to have seen the shimmers be a little bit easier to pick up on a brush or on my finger. Now, it's been a while since I've used a NATASHA DENONA palette, so maybe I'm just forgetting that her shimmers aren't as emollient and foily as some of the other brands, but I don't remember feeling this way using a NATASHA DENONA palette before. And then when it comes to the mattes, especially this new formula, it's definitely a lot less fallout and kickback in the pan. Like, so much less. The fact it's called a silky matte formula, I can definitely see that. It feels thinner in consistency than the other mattes that I've used from her palettes before, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I was able to create this look, it was nice. I did feel like I had to dip in a few more times and build it up to the intensity that I wanted, possibly because it was that slightly thinner formula, but I think the overall effect and how it looks is nice. I think it depends as well what you like preference-wise when it comes to formulas for mattes and things, because I'm used to using a lot of bright, intense colour, and I don't mind a lot of kickback in the pan because that just means it's going to be super pigmented on the eye, and I don't mind it like that straight out of the gate. I think this one being a little bit thinner and a little bit silkier consistency, you do build it up a little bit more, but it's still like intense. I mean, look at that outer corner. That is a intense purple outer corner. Is it my favourite matte formula so far? No. I do need to use it some more. And the shimmers, I mean, the 3 that I tried to pick up, little bit frustrating, but definitely beautiful on the lid. Like, they look stunning. I don't think it's a bad palette. I'm really glad that I've got it. I just don't think it's blown me away either. And regards to the colour story, like for me personally, with all the purple packaging, like I would have liked to have seen a few more purpley leaning tones rather than pinky leaning tones. And that shade Velour definitely did sort of transform a little bit on my eye and pull a little bit more pink. Again, that could have been my undertone at the base that I decided to use. But yeah, that's interesting. And definitely this one that literally looks like a stone colour in the pan to me, on the eye is definitely a lot more purple, which I'm a fan of. The next look I do with this, I'll try and concentrate more on the warmer toned pinky purples and play around with it a bit more and see what I think. But please do let me know what you think to this palette. Are you interested in picking this one up? Is this for you? And let me know what you think to the look that I created today. This is actually quite tame for me. This is actually very, very subtle for me. Personally, when it comes to the NATASHA DENONA palettes, I really like the Trio Chrome palette. I think this one is definitely more my cup of tea because it also has the greeny yellows in it as well and sort of the peachy tones at the bottom, and I love all of these tones of purple. I think they're beautiful. So out of the two, I'd lean more towards this one colour story wise and formula wise. Circo Loco is another one of my absolute favourites from the brand. We do have a purple matte down here and a purple shimmer, and a lot of other bright colours, but again, another favourite for me. And for people that prefer more pinky leaning palettes, the Retro palette, oh, I do love this colour story so much. So they're three of my favourites from Natasha Denona, and especially formula wise, colour story wise. So putting that into perspective when it comes to this one, like if you normally gravitate towards the more neutral palettes from her brand, then obviously we've got slightly different preferences when it comes to colour stories. But formula wise, yeah, I can definitely tell there is a difference with this one. And I think personally I may prefer the older formula. Thank you so much for checking out this video, guys. If this is the sort of content that you enjoy, then please do consider subscribing, and I will link down below my socials as well as my YouTube membership and my Patreon group, and hopefully guys, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!